Thanks for watching our most recent webinar on optimizing your brand for conversion. We had Nico from TechArmor join us for a spirited discussion on key performance metrics and increasing sales conversion. If you enjoyed this one, we'll be holding another webinar on June 12th at 3 p.m. Eastern around proven PPC strategies for Amazon. Hope to see you there.
Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. This is Andy Coughlin, your host and MC of the webinars here at Teikametrics. I'm also the Chief Revenue Officer. Well, today is June 28th, 2017, a beautiful day here in Boston, Massachusetts, and we've got a meaty topic to discuss today. We're going to be covering optimizing your brand for conversion. As always, this is a roundtable discussion, so generally speaking, we get a ton of questions, a lot of engagement. We're here to help. We talk to hundreds of customers, every day, and we're learning a lot as well. So looking forward to having a really good discussion. So we've got a really interesting group of folks around the table today. So you can put a name to a face, if you will. I'm going to kind of go maybe 2 o'clock in front of me, right to Gary. So she's right there in the middle. So maybe Gary, just a few words about who you are and what you do here at Teikametrics.
Hi everyone, I'm Gary Angar. I'm on the customer success team here at Teikametrics. I'm also involved in sponsored products management.
Yes, you are. So thank you very much. And then to Gary's right, Megan.
Hey everyone, I'm Megan. I am part of the customer success team, and I've worked with hundreds of brands to help them optimize for conversion.
And you've been at Teikametrics for a couple of years now.
Yep.
Yeah. So
About 2 now.
That's right.
Yep.
So you've got a lot of experience, certainly talking with and working with brands and resellers. And then to my left, we have Alistair McLean-Foreman.
Thanks, Andy. And yes, I'm the founder and CEO of Teikametrics. It's a real pleasure to be here. This is going to be a great topic. I'd like to thank all the sellers for joining, and we're really excited. It's going to be a great conversation.
It is, and we've got a special guest all the way from California. So we are lucky enough to have one of our customers and one of our partners, and quite candidly, one of the most successful brands on Amazon, join us today for the conversation. So we've got Nico, who's the head of product marketing over at TechArmor. So Nico, maybe say hello to the group.
How you doing? Thank you guys for joining me here.
You might be on mute. So either way, when you have a chance, just you can just jump in and just say hi when you've got a moment. But yeah, Nico's going to join the conversation just as soon as he can. But off we go. So I think, Gary, you're driving from here on out. Is that right?
I am.
Awesome. So we'll pass over to Gary. And as always, please, at any moment you've got questions, please put that into the GoTo webinar. We'll be trying to answer as many as we can, both through the course of the conversation and then at the end. So let's let it go. Let's go.
Perfect. So today's topic of discussion is going to be conversion and optimization for conversion. So a lot of you may have heard the phrase content is king, but really conversion is queen. So
yes.
no matter what your content is, if it's not getting you sales, it's bad content and it's not doing its job. So we're going to show you exactly what you can do to change that. So a few goals for the webinar today. We want to make sure that we help you understand your data. We talk a lot about data here, and we want to make sure we set you up for success, not only that you're comfortable analyzing your data, but you're comfortable with the results you get from it and are ready to take action. So we'll walk through some of the reports available through Seller Central, show you how those reports work together, and then show you some actionable steps you can take to improve your own metrics and convert better from each and every one of your product pages. And of course, the very last thing you might have heard us mention profitability a time or two on our previous webinars. Yep. And the goal really is to make it profitable in the long haul, and improving conversion is a great way to do that.
Right, excellent.
And a couple of steps to take you to the end goal of increasing your conversion is we want to dive into importance of conversion, the so what, the big picture there, and then dive into knowing your key performance metrics. So really establishing benchmarks to move forward and really improve your conversion there. And then we'll jump into knowing your target audience. Amazon is so customer centric that we want to show you how to be like that as well. And lastly, we're going to dive into a couple scenarios that will fit every single seller on this webinar, and how you can, after this webinar, actually take action to help improve your conversion.
And I just think, just jumping in, this is going to be a meaty conversation, folks. So, we're going to try to move at pace. But again, if you've got questions, just please jump in at any moment. We try to do a good job with the presentation, but we're going to cover a lot of ground today. So yeah, over to you, Gary.
Perfect. So great statistic here about Amazon Prime members. So Amazon Prime members convert 74% of the time, which means that 74% of the time they go to Amazon.com, they end up making a purchase. And these are the customers who are paying to be Amazon shoppers. So it's important that you're focusing in on this group, making sure that the 74% conversion rate is on your product. So are you capturing these sales?
Wow, that is amazing. I mean, let's just digest that for a second.
Yeah.
So 74% of the time that an Amazon Prime customer comes back, they're conversing.
Yep.
That is phenomenal.
And compared to non-Prime members, they actually convert at 13 to 14% of the time. So it's a big gap there.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's very new news, but it's been talked about a lot. You know, the Whole Foods acquisition. I mean, this sort of network's going to get even stronger. Yeah. I mean, when you start to integrate daily purchases like grocery on top of that, you know, it's just a phenomenal funnel that they've built. That is an unbelievable stat.
Perfect. And you know, when you're talking about conversion, we wanted to make sure we were all on the same page here, so to speak. So what is conversion? Pretty simple equation here. It's your total number of sales over the number of sessions. Sessions is a very Amazon-centric metric, and it means your unique page visits during a 24-hour period. And we'll be diving more into where you can find this number as well later on.
Yeah, I think I just want to pause there for a second because it seems like such an obvious thing. I mean, even when we were talking about it this morning, I was like, okay, wait a minute, sessions, right? That is an Amazon-specific thing. And a lot of the feedback that we get from our audience when we're going through webinars is we have a very group of folks that are, you know, at their desk or whatever it might be, very advanced sellers and very new sellers. So I think what you're going to hear in this conversation, and we've tried to do a really good job of trying to, you know, make sure you understand at least, you know, the basics, if you will, but also when you get into some of the higher level math, hopefully that'll be beneficial for the advanced sellers as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. The goal really is to take all of these blue people on the left, turn them into the red sales on the right here on your screen. And we're going to talk through, you know, the different ways you can do that and improve your conversion at every step.
So now we want to dive into the so what, the importance of conversion. And we want to be looking at the bigger picture here because in the end, you want to be improving your overall sales and in the end, your profit. If you think about it, if you're converting, you want to be in the end goal is really to be profitable, right? To increase sales, and at the end of the day, it's what you're taking home. So really want to think about conversion as this flywheel effect. So if you start with conversion, you're going to be building up the sales velocity and essentially building up sales ranks. So you really have more opportunities for reviews, and really the end goal is efficient conversion. At the end of the day, that's going to be profitability, higher ROI, because if you think about it, we're going to go into sponsored products and organic traffic. A sale is a sale, but if you're able to spend less on sponsored products, you just have that higher ROI there.
I like what you said. I almost feel like we should have renamed the webinar Efficient Conversion, because that's what the essence of what we're talking about, right? Is you do want to continue that. We're going to talk about spending more money on sponsored products, but spending it as efficiently as possible.
Is it the right kind of conversion?
No, that's great. Thanks, Megan. And I think the rewards to focusing on conversion early on in your product launch pay dividends in the future. You know, you're going to get more bang for your buck in any aspect, and especially sponsored products if conversion is working well. So that's a very, very good point, and it's often overlooked. I mean, you guys, Gary in particular, you work with a lot of sponsored product sellers. I think, would you agree that if the sellers that sort of came into our program and generally who execute sponsored products had stronger conversion, I mean, their sponsored products performance and just overall organic sales are going to grow faster.
100%. Sponsored products is a great tool to drive traffic, but once that traffic is on your page, it's up to you to convert each visitor and treat your page like a storefront where you're really setting yourself up for sales every time.
But what, I mean, just quickly, and again, I'm sort of leaning into a little bit, you know, why do you think sellers tend to overlook conversion? I mean, they're sort of looking to quickly scale before getting a strong foundation. I mean, why do you think that is?
Usually it's a lack of prioritization. So listing optimization is rarely at the top of the list. When people are working with limited resources and limited time, they end up prioritizing, you know, sponsored products or sourcing or adding new products or adding new SKUs, when you really could be working more within your existing offerings, your existing product pages, and getting a whole lot more ROI and return on investment from from your marketing dollars.
Yeah, I see a lot of sellers spending thousands of dollars in sponsored products, but at the end of the day, if you don't have both the traffic and the conversion piece together, that's going to be ultimately affecting your bottom line there and your conversion.
Yeah, and we're definitely going to try and help them in some of these areas, very, very shortly.
Perfect. That being said, sponsored products conversion is kind of a beast all its own. It tends to be a little bit higher usually than organic sales. So now we're going to launch our first poll here, and we'd like to know from you what you think an average sponsored products conversion rate is.
All right, so about to launch that poll. We have a couple of brackets here ranging up all the way to 20% or more.
And as that's coming through, just want to do an audio check. So Nico, what are your thoughts on sponsored products conversion?
It's funny. Well, I actually know the answer, but I don't want to jump too far ahead. It's funny, coming from an email marketing space before this.
We'll have to work with him offline to get the audio fixed. No sweat. So Megan, what does the group say?
So leaving this poll open for a couple more seconds, but the majority are actually grouped into the 11-15%. I'm going to close the poll and share the results with everyone. It's actually pretty interesting looking at the results. It's actually tied now 6 to 10% and 11 to 15%. So about the middle of what we had on the polls there. And about 14% said 20% or more was the average sponsored products conversion rate.
All right. Is everyone ready to find out what the true metric is here?
Yes.
All right. So grand reveal. So using the data from our own sponsored products customers, and we work with millions of dollars in ad spend across every category that you could advertise in, and we find that the average click-to-order rate is 17.7% for Amazon sponsored products advertising.
Oh wow.
That's interesting. So, and that's just specifically from the sponsored products campaigns, and we took that from millions of dollars worth
millions
of
of dollars of monthly spend, thousands of SKUs.
And just quickly, so for those of for the sellers that are listening that sort of aren't necessarily digging into every metric in sponsored product, where does that data show up if someone wanted to reference their own data and compare to that? Just
I would look at the click to order conversion. That's what we're looking at here. So the clicks are important because that's what you're paying for. So what you're paying for versus how much you're making off of that sale. So that's the conversion we honed in on here. And to Amazon, it really doesn't matter. A sale is a sale. So whether you're getting your conversion from sponsored products or whether you're getting your conversion organically, it's still going to be boosting that sales rank, and it's still going to be boosting your search results.
And that report is available through the sponsored products results.
Correct. Yep. So that's going to be available through your bulk operations file in Campaign Manager.
You can actually custom that date range as well. So you're looking at a big period of time there. At least 30 days we recommend.
Perfect. So next we're going to go into some KPMs relating. These conversion KPMs are going to be to do with your overall business.
So knowing your conversion key performance metrics, these are going to act as benchmarks to assess performance. So looking at this at your account level is really going to help you assess your product and SKU level. And we have a couple of key performance metrics here. The first two dealing with traffic. So we actually suggest looking at your business reports, which is located under the reports and business reports for your entire account here. And we get a lot of questions from sellers saying, what's the difference between page views and sessions? Well, page views are going to be total visits to a page, and these are going to be, not unique versus sessions. These are going to be unique visits to a page within a 24-hour period. So when customers maybe are window shopping, browsing around, looking at other product pages, this is going to take note of that and really count that customer as, one session there. So we really recommend looking at sessions. The next key performance metric deals with conversion, and same question here, what's the difference between order session percentage and unit session percentage? Which metric should I be paying attention to on my business reports? And we recommend order session percentage. So this is going to show you the orders to sessions here, and this is going to be key in really defining that benchmark to find the key performance metrics for all your products there.
Absolutely, and this distinction becomes important if you have a product that people tend to reorder, tend to shop around for more. So that's why order session percentage gives you a truer measure of conversion, but of course the goal is to turn each customer and each conversion into a repeat buy. So that brings us into the Amazon marketplace in general. So you can't work on increasing the demand on Amazon, but you need to ask yourself, are you meeting demand that already exists? So there are millions of people coming to Amazon every single day, and your job really is to capture those people and bring them to your particular storefront or your particular product page.
Yep, so that we really want to be diving into key performance metrics for sponsored products as well. Because before we were looking at in business reports.
And that's the way that you capture that traffic and increase the demand for your own product.
Yep. And sponsored products, key performance metrics also act as benchmarks for your entire sponsored products usage here. So looking at some advertising conversion rates, here we have a funnel, and you really want to be keeping this funnel as big as possible at the very top where we have impressions here. So driving the most traffic. And as we move down the tunnel, the metrics here are going to get smaller and smaller. Just so to keep this in context, we have an example here, 200 impressions. Moving down, that translates into 500 clicks. And at the very bottom, we have orders.
5,000 clicks.
Oh, 5,000.
Yes.
On the bottom, we have 885 orders. So that's going to actually translate into a 17.7% conversion rate. And what you really want to be doing is making sure you capitalize on search terms that drive you down the funnel here. So this is going to be really important when dealing with sponsored products and assessing those benchmarks.
Yeah. So if you can, if you don't spend initially to get that 200,000 impressions, you're just going to keep narrowing the funnel for yourself going down the line. So it's important to realize how big a net you need to cast to end up with those orders.
And just keep in mind, all these key performance metrics and benchmarks are going to be relative to your own business based on what category you're in, how competitive it is, and really what type of product you have. So it's really good to compare yourself against your own benchmarks there.
Yep. And
Megan, I was wondering if I could jump in really quick.
Yeah, perfect.
Go ahead.
Now that my mic is actually working.
Hi, Nico. Sorry about that.
No, not a problem. I was trying to thank you guys for the opportunity, and it wasn't going through. I wanted to go back where you were saying that you can't increase the demand on Amazon, which is right, but you can certainly widen your funnel through outside opportunities. I know one thing for Tech Armor, we have a really large social following, and we drive a lot of traffic to our Amazon detail pages and our website itself. So we try to switch back and forth.
And how do you drive the social following, Nico? How do you set this up to begin with?
We have a pretty regular calendar of posts that feature various products. We try to go off of social trends, a lot of ancillary holidays, whether it's like we recently just had National Selfie Day, so we tried to incorporate a product into that. Okay. We often do giveaways, and we do social advertising as well, but that one is not quite as organic as the others.
Nico, that's very, very interesting. So just to be clear, are you advertising your Amazon pages in social media, or are you sort of just talking about the idea of just building the brand on social media, knowing that there are so many Amazon sellers? I'm interested to know that nuance of, are you actually specifically driving traffic to the Amazon links?
Yeah, we do both actually. And on Facebook particularly, and now Instagram, they offer carousel postings, so we can really target a specific device, like the iPhone, for example, with a carousel of links, each one going to a specific detail page on Amazon.
Wow. Okay. So that's just very, very useful information. Essentially buying traffic or capturing your that sort of conversation, if you like, with your brand and your brand followers, and moving them directly to Amazon, thus increasing conversion, thus improving the sales rank, thus improving reviews, and really sort of, I think a lot of brands think about Amazon or their own .com and try and sort of shift away from Amazon. But what you're saying there is you're aligning with Amazon and actually driving traffic back, knowing that that's where all the customers are.
Exactly. It's one of our most profitable channels. So we try to focus as much traffic as we can. We shift between our website and Amazon quite frequently.
This is very interesting. So we had our event in New York, couple of weeks ago. Yeah, it was fantastic. We had a lot of brand sellers, and we had some experts there that talked about influencer programs with Instagram. Have you done that before? And is it Facebook, Instagram? Are there any other venues? Pinterest? I'm just really interested to know, sort of tactically.
Absolutely, yeah. We've run social influencing campaigns on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. YouTube is another large one, especially right around device launches. People love seeing, for example, the Galaxy S8 that was just opened. They love seeing the unboxing. So we try to jump on that with some social influencing campaigns as well.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. And of course, with these devices, just thinking about your industry, there's so many sort of cheap alternatives out there. There's so much noise by associating yourself with a real a real influencer. I think that just adds so much. So that makes a lot of sense. So thank you very much for sharing. I think that's fascinating and very, very wise.
And Nico, if you don't mind, just because we had those audio issues up front, just for the group, we've got a large group on the webinar today. Just maybe just a little bit of background about Tech Armor, and maybe just a quick note on you, just so everybody is familiar kind of who they're listening to.
Yeah, absolutely. We were founded about 5 years ago by two veteran mobile accessory executives with about 20 years of industry experience between them. And they saw an opportunity to provide premium mobile accessories with an emphasis on customer service without paying the huge price that you see in a lot of retail big box stores. So we saw about, in the first 3 years of growth, pretty exponential growth after establishing what was then a lifetime warranty, the industry first lifetime warranty. And we were very happy, but over the last 2 years, I'm sure a lot of people on this webinar know just from the Amazon environment, the competition has grown equally exponentially. And we've seen kind of a increase in competitive pricing. We've had to really, really sharpen our pencils in terms of how we view strategies, and we just couldn't do it in-house on our own anymore. And that's actually one of the things that led us to Teikametrics. We needed some type of software that could handle the tasks on a much larger scale with our growing catalog.
Awesome, Nico, thanks for the background, and I'm glad the audio is now working now. So jump in, keep doing your thing. So thank you. I'll pass over to Gary. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, Nico, feel free to chime in at any time. So where we left off was, figuring out what's not working. So once you've established what your key performance metrics are, you can need to see which ones are not meeting recommended benchmarks. So this is where you need to run a controlled experiment and try to really narrow down the cause of the issue and why you're not converting.
So a controlled experiment really involves isolating variables. So picking one factor that we'll actually review in a second and changing that and nothing else to see what happens. And we want to see if that change to that variable is going to have an impact on conversion, positively or negatively. And ultimately, we want to positively affect conversion. So we'll be isolating and testing these variables until we find those that work. So we really recommend doing an A/B test where you test two similar products with similar conversion rates, test different variables in each product page, and see which one performs better. Ultimately, you want to find the variable that really increases and brings up conversion the highest, and making sure that you run it for at least 2 weeks. We see a lot of sellers who try this, and the pitfall there is that they don't let it run long enough to see the results and ultimately see how it impacts conversion. So we really recommend that you give enough time frame. It may be a couple weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So really letting it run for a long enough time so you can see the results.
Yeah, I think that's excellent guidance. Maybe Nico, just if you could chime in there for a second there. I mean, your pages are extraordinary. I'm just curious if folks had to, I know we're saying kind of choose all, test all 6, but are there a couple that you might want to prioritize there in terms of kind of what Megan is alluding to?
Well, if you're one of the sellers that is privileged to enhance brand content, that would definitely be a large one, because the data that shows conversion percentage for people that do utilize enhanced brand content is much larger. Surprisingly enough, the title is one of the really important things just for organic search results. We use third-party software to measure our organic results for top keywords, and title changes have a pretty large impact as well. One thing I would say too is utilize your customer service team. We've made several changes to our pages just based on customer feedback, both positive and negative.
And Nico, on that, are you talking about questions? I imagine in your industry, there's a lot of questions regarding fit. And are you talking the Q&A section on the pages, or are you just talking about the customer review responses, or both?
Both, absolutely, yeah.
So wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I mean, I think the enhanced brand content piece is very, very relevant. I know that we're going to talk about that in a bit more detail, so we'll definitely come back to that. And I totally agree. If you think about Amazon being your shop front, and this is the sort of first impression, how do you differentiate yourselves? And there's an opportunity. We'll chat further about that, because you guys do have. You've done a fantastic job with your enhanced brand content, and the features of your products are fantastic. So we'll talk about that soon.
Perfect. So one of the ways that you can get a lot of this insight about how people search for you or what they're looking for is through sponsored product.
Oh, I think we have a couple more points on that slide, sorry. I just wanted to cover a couple of factors here that you would want to test. So really capitalizing on content such as title, bullets, and also description. And then two, I actually want to point out our, Nico had mentioned enhanced brand content. We'll actually dive into that in a little bit more. But these enhanced brand content images are going to be really showcasing your brand, and this is going to really increase prevent customers from bouncing, actually. So this is going to really give them a good visual of the products there. Also back-end keywords. So these can actually range from anywhere from target audience to keywords that you put under your product details page, when you're setting up your listings there, and also even intended use. So those are a couple examples of back-end keywords, and even price. So you want to be making sure you properly set up all these factors so you can capture your target audience. Customers come to Amazon to purchase, so you really need to price accordingly. I know a lot of brands think they don't want to be too competitive on price. However, there are going to be other sellers out there with maybe similar products. You need to be always aware of that as well, and price accordingly.
Perfect.
I would definitely agree with that as well, Megan.
Yeah. Do you do a lot of pricing research, Nico? How do you go about that?
We definitely do. We don't have the time in-house to do it on every single product, but we definitely look at our top 50, and we do monthly price audits just to make sure we're staying in line with what other sellers are doing.
I can't actually help myself, guys. We've just hired a data scientist, and we're extremely excited about price elasticity testing. It's something that we are studying tremendous amounts of data to figure out that question. What should be the optimal price? And when you think about the number of variables, you've got inventory, you've got advertising, you've got gross margin, and of course price. So it's something that we think we can solve with automation and machine learning. So more to come there, and totally agree. Price is just the biggest trigger.
Perfect. So one of the ways that you could get this information that Megan just referred to is through your sponsored products advertising. And sponsored products gives you a lot of data and insight into your audience, more so than ever before. And this is how you're going to figure out how people are searching for you. Andy and I had a discussion / argument about this earlier today.
I would say a debate.
A debate about this.
Yes.
And to me, it doesn't matter who is buying your product, it matters how they find you. So it could be anyone sitting anywhere buying your product. The demographics are not as important as what they're typing into that search box.
I think you're taking a shot at me, right? But maybe just build on that a little bit. I know you're going to, right?
Yeah.
In terms of the how rather than the who.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. So with sponsored products, you can get a lot of information about how people are coming to you, finding your product, and that's data you can then take back and use it to optimize your listings. And I think Nico's kind of alluded to this. It's a continuous process. You need to kind of be looking back at your listings, taking feedback and enhancing them further, which brings us to our next poll about how you use sponsored products data to optimize listing. And I guess caveat, if you do.
Launch that poll. So we're wondering, do you use it to find content for bullet points and descriptions? Do you find it for titles? Do you find it for back-end keywords, so other things such as like target audience and intended use, or do you not use sponsored products for this? keep this poll open for a couple more seconds. So it looks like the majority of you actually use it to find back-end keywords, so to drive that traffic organically. Great. All right, I'm going to close this poll. Looks like a lot of you voted, and thank you for everyone who's participating. This is great.
It's interesting. So, when we're thinking about that, or when we're discussing this, I'm thinking about sort of the Google evolution. You've got Google search, of course, and then you've got Google AdWords, and then you've got Google's tool, the keyword planner tool. And the value of that, basically Google offering some indication of total search volume for keywords effectively to monetize. It'll be interesting to see where Amazon goes with that relationship of, it's in their best interest to share information on search volume, because that's how you can monetize those keywords. So I think it's just interesting to sort of think ahead of, what strategies are there around Google AdWords relative to augmenting your paid Amazon strategy.
Yeah. All right, so sharing the results there, it looks like back-end keywords was one there with 54%, and it looks like find content for bullet points and descriptions was about 10%, at least there. Pretty interesting that people aren't using sponsored products so much to really pull out high-performing search terms to add to their listing. So.
Yeah, that's definitely an essential use of your sponsored products data and targeting those key attributes that customers are looking for.
Yeah, so you really want to be looking into your target audience and what they really value in attributes for that product. So you want to put yourself in your customer's shoes, and like Alistair said, really focus on SEO to capitalize on the amount of Prime users, especially 74%. You want to capitalize on that percentage there to make sure you're taking some of that traffic and sales there. So we really recommend doing a couple of things. So one, we actually have an example here of searching for your product and see what top searches come up. So what attributes is it by audience there? So for women, or is it a particular type of backpack there? So that's going to be key. You need to make it, a lot of sellers may only use Amazon as their only channel. So this is really going to be their main focus on making sure they really focus on their target audience there.
Well, I think in addition to that 74% stat on Prime conversion, I think the really interesting stat is the fact that the search share, when I say search share, I mean the volume of people, especially in the United States, searching for products using Amazon has grown tremendously relative to Google. And the last statistic was in the sort of 65%. What that means is you've got an opportunity to optimize millions of people's very, very active funnels right there. And if you don't optimize for that, the consumer is going to purchase from one of your competitors. So being able to, in that screenshot there, Megan, you've got sort of effectively an autocomplete strategy, right? Like, typing in and putting yourself in the shoes of, as you said, your consumer, and in using that to optimize. So that's just a very important strategy. We had that at our Edge conference with a number of our top experts, including Amazon and Mike Ziegler, who was one of the sort of founding team of sponsored products. So can we talk a little bit about that sort of going into the long tail? I know a lot of sellers use or have tried using those long tail keyword tools. What are our thoughts on that? I know that's, it's an interesting debate, because I mean, obviously very keyword focused, like, can we get, the seller thought process is, let's get as many keywords as possible. Gary, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think long tail keywords can be beneficial because they reduce the traffic and they reduce the clutter. So you're not competing with as many people, but it needs to be a long tail keyword that's come up through your product detail pages and come up through your search term report. So it's easy to come up with a combination of words that you think will work based on what you're selling, but it doesn't mean that people are searching for your product that way. And that's really important here. So Amazon's whole goal is to be customer centric. So you need to think like a customer and think about what someone would actually search for And you don't even have to get creative because that data comes to you from Amazon. Amazon has it available. So you need to use long tail keywords that a customer would actually search for.
And if you think about that funnel we had earlier, you want to make that funnel as wide as possible and also at the bottom. So if you're finding maybe keywords through a keyword tool, you may be finding ones that do have maybe high traffic, but in the end, is it going to go for your product at the bottom of the funnel? So that's my focus on.
I think just on that, I mean, there's diminishing returns to keywords, right? Like you can't expect to just fish out every single keyword. We've seen, especially on the sponsored products campaigns, people coming in with tens of thousands of keywords. They've used these automated tools.
More doesn't necessarily mean better if they're not converting.
And coming back to the feedback from our relationships with Amazon, obviously the guys that built this and top consultants, got to be careful about how deep you go, and really you're wasting time. In simple terms.
Nico, do you have any thoughts about this? Does your team, utilize sponsored products data for listing optimization in any way?
Absolutely, yeah. There's a couple of things to watch out for too. Even in the sponsored products software itself, when you go to type in a keyword when you're creating your ad, it'll give you a list of anywhere from 25 to 100 keywords, and a lot of sellers might be tempted to hit the select all and just throw all of them in there, thinking that, well, Amazon suggested them, so they must be great. But as to what you were saying before, a lot of them may be high traffic, but they aren't exactly relevant. So I would definitely shy away from that. What we do is we create, when a new product comes out, we create a manual campaign right off the bat and an automatic campaign in tandem. And we let both of them run. And after about 2 weeks, we look at the search term report in the automatic just to see if there's anything we're missing in the manual. And we'll move those over accordingly.
That's very interesting.
We use third-party software as well, but like you were saying, it's a very dangerous game because you can get keywords that aren't extremely relevant. We use it as a starting point, kind of a format to jump off from.
Right. What are your thoughts on Google? You talked a little bit about Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. As we're talking about Amazon versus Google and the share of search, do you guys run Google AdWords? Have you
We absolutely do.
Okay. And that's just, of course, driving directly to your .com site and not Amazon?
Correct. We use it mainly because it allows us to filter folks directly into our website, which then hooks us into a whole host of tracking, whether it's dynamic remarketing or things of that nature.
Yeah, so the whole sort of customer journey, the cost of acquisition is different to Amazon. You've got more opportunities to touch that customer.
Exactly. We have a little more control over the experience.
So I'm curious to know, over the last few years, have you shifted budget more into Amazon? I imagine Google Shopping has lost market share relatively to Amazon.
I think we've kept our budgets on a percentage value relatively the same, but it's always been skewed more towards Amazon just because it's a much more profitable channel for us.
Interesting. And have you, sort of talking about where those keywords come from, have you used any of the Google keywords over in Amazon? We've heard a little bit about that.
I was going to include that. Yeah, we actually do both. We use both of them interchangeably, and you'd be surprised how they match up. A lot of the keywords stack up pretty well in both channels, but every once in a while there are a few that live in one channel and not the other.
Improving the Google campaigns with Amazon data.
Exactly, and vice versa.
Okay, one more, sorry. What about improving Facebook campaigns with Amazon data?
As far as keywords that we use in our ads, we have before, yes.
Interesting. Okay.
And it's really just a matter of finding what people are interested in.
Yeah, I think it's just the reason I'm sort of probing on all these questions. I think especially when you're a brand like yourself, you have to be in multiple places, right? Like you've got real IP. So this ability to touch the customer through their social experience on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube even, and even Google, and then to sort of use all of the data together to get the optimization across multiple channels, I think is something that we're really interested in, and I think you're proving there that there's a lot of value. So I think that's the goal for a lot of sellers. I think a lot of the listeners and I think a lot of sellers that we work with are obviously very focused on Amazon, but the opportunity to think about holistically, where can you touch the customer elsewhere to try and create that much more robust branding experience? I think that's something that every seller should be aiming for and thinking about in the future. I think those are the sellers that are truly going to win. When you also see how powerful other networks outside of Amazon, I know that we tend to be very, very Amazon centric, but just to hear what you guys are doing is fantastic.
Exactly. I wouldn't ignore email either. I mean, email is still a very strong and a very high converting channel, and we actively try to grow our email list as much as possible.
Of course, yeah. I want to say everyone on the call, or the vast majority of it, my gut would be that being very Amazon centric, many of our sellers don't get access to email, and of course, when you've got that, I think you change the profile of customer acquisition. Again, speaking to what you said about using Google AdWords versus Amazon, makes a lot of sense. I mean, email is in some ways a little bit old school, but you have the relationship, whereas on Amazon it's very, very quick, and you don't have that conversation.
Exactly.
Perfect. So with your search and report in particular, there's a lot of good data that you can find in here and find exactly what your customer is searching for.
Yeah, so this is really going to help you put yourself in your customer's shoes, because the search term report is exactly what they're putting into that search bar. So we work with a lot of sellers who ask us all the time, how can I use this search term data? How do I mine out the best performing ones, maybe for my listings, for example? And we want you to focus on search terms that have a high conversion rate, have a really low ACoS. So anything maybe under your margins, for example, would be a really high performing ACoS. And also anything with multiple orders, nothing that was one off, but is repeatable, and customers are searching and land on your products and buy. And that's the most, I think, underutilized data. A lot of sellers are like, oh yeah, I'm actually going to use this in my backend keywords in my product page content, and they see a lot of positive effects on that.
You have a lot of experience with this, Megan, right? Actually optimizing people's product pages for them.
Yes, taking that data and actually, I've actually helped a couple of sellers reorganize their variations based on the attributes from the search term report that customers seem to be really honing in on and converting on. So, things such as maybe size, color, flavor, even packaging. That's going to really help you put yourself in your customer's shoes there.
Perfect. And there's a couple of different, pitfalls that you might encounter, whether it's the amount of traffic you're driving to your page or the amount that's converting from there. So while the search term tells you who's looking for your product, we want to know what metric you're struggling with the most, whether it's sessions and traffic or whether it's conversions and orders.
So I'm going to launch that poll. All right, just looking at the participation so far, looks like the majority of you struggle the most with conversion and sales. Well, you've come to the right webinar. Well, we can help you. All right, so I'm going to leave this poll open for a couple more seconds. Thank you to all who voted. I'm going to share those results with you. And again, it looks like the majority of you struggle with conversion. And then secondly, people struggle with both, which I can see.
Yeah,
it's definitely difficult to hone in on both the traffic and the sales there. I had those results. All right.
Perfect. And Nico, if you wouldn't mind chiming in here, have you seen a trend to where, during a product life cycle, if there's a switch from when conversion's an issue to when sessions are an issue or vice versa? Have you noticed a trend in that?
Yeah, you were right inside my head with that. We tend to pull the lever back and forth depending on the life cycle. So our products are really dependent on device life cycles. So for example, in September, when the new iPhone 8 is launched, We focus heavily on sessions, even to the point of sacrificing conversion. We don't mind putting in as many keywords as possible, and we try to drive that traffic and open the top of the funnel as wide as possible for the first couple of weeks. And once we can start establishing some reviews and some conversions, we tend to pull the lever back towards the conversion side and really, again, get as granular as we can to start increasing efficiency.
That's perfect. Yeah, thanks for that, Nico. And kind of launching off of that, we have a few different scenarios we'd like to walk you through that everyone's going to fall into one of these buckets. So we have our seller Mike here. And he sells a huge variety of products, quite the portfolio, and we're going to walk through each different product scenario and really what you can do to change that.
And the first product that Mike sells is a laptop, just for an example, a computer here. And this is a product that has low sessions and sales and low conversion here. So he's trying to make every sale count because there's just not a lot of traffic being driven to his listings. And you can apply this to any product that's possibly out of season, maybe it's higher price, maybe other items such as jewelry. It can even be a newly launched product as well. So what we really want to help you focus on first is prioritize content. You could be starting to drive traffic dealing with the sessions, but ultimately if the conversion part is not in place, you're going to be wasting a lot of that effort there. So we really recommend looking at the product page content factors such as title, price point, bullet points, even enhanced brand content, which we're still going to get to. and then from there, you're going to really want to hone in on sponsored products so you can start to boost sessions and then also boost conversion at the same time.
We could also be quite cold-hearted and cut the product, right? And I think we've talked about in previous webinars and with many of our customers. I mean, it is a game about being very data-driven. If there's no outcome where either sessions increase or conversion increases to be profitable, cut it and move on. And I think that's the game that we see the most agile sellers performing really, really well. And but absolutely, really trying to make an adjustment is logical. So I think in those cases, I would say that a lot of sellers just simply look at units sold or revenue, and by highlighting to dig in at sessions and conversions, you're going to really potentially see what's wrong. I think that's the feedback loop there between looking at the data and trying to make some adjustments.
Absolutely. And that brings us to our second type of product where you have that traffic, you have those sessions, but you're just not converting well. And in my experience, I see this a lot with competitive marketplaces where there are a lot of options for customers to buy and a lot of different pricing that they can choose between. And Nico, this is, it seems to me this is a camp that you fall into with your product with a lot of competition. What kind of things do you do to stand out and start improving that conversion rate, or I guess hold on to the conversion rate?
Yeah, it's really a matter of, we use the sponsored product optimizer a lot for this. Once we get into that specific range, we start to see which keywords are working and which aren't. So we really start kicking down a lot of the keywords that are not firing for us. And we start looking at what our question and answers are, what are people resonating with the page, what do we need to change about our bullets? Perhaps they're not seeing something in the installation.
Okay.
Very small changes here and there can make huge conversion changes.
So, Nico, you talked earlier about pricing audits on a monthly basis. I'm just curious, in the sort of iPhone 8 launch scenario, how important is price? Is there a strategy to how low do you go?
Exactly. We never want to race to the bottom and sacrifice profits. And I think brand quality really plays a big factor in that as well. We know that our products are premium, and we really list those premium features as far as why people might be willing to pay a little bit more.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's good timing. So we brought that up, and this is the opportunity. Enhanced brand content, and you guys have a great example. This is a screenshot of your enhanced brand content. And I think this makes a lot of sense. It's the idea that you're bringing consumers in a very, very competitive search term, but you're then adding these key selling points: ballistic glass, HD clear, very anti-glare, and this lifetime warranty that you guys offer. And that's how you, what I love actually is, Nika, how you introduced your company around customer service. I think that's actually special relative to Amazon. I don't think enough sellers realize how important that is. So I love that you guys are highlighting it there. It's a really, really good representation of your DNA.
Yeah, it was one of the pillars that the company was founded on and continues with today.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think I mean, Amazon is definitely playing into the hands of brand owners that are, better at branding. And I think that's something that a lot of Amazon sellers, if you think about, private label versus brand, and you think about who is performing well on Amazon in terms of brands. We did another fantastic webinar with a multi-million-dollar seller who spent a lot of time writing copy and actually outsourcing that to world-class copywriters. I think when you're looking at brand content, it's just more real estate to differentiate yourselves. And again,
and it's much less restricted as well. The enhanced brand content has far fewer restrictions than titles and bullets.
So do you guys have, without going to sort of too much detail, obviously, we respect your sort of team structure and so on, but you guys have an internal team, I'm sure, of designers, creative people, real branding folks, I imagine.
We do, and to be honest, we have actually outsourced copywriting in the past, and what we got back was a fantastic piece of writing that ended up getting skewered by Amazon for keywords that were just not allowed on the system. So it actually turned out to be, I wouldn't say a waste of time, because we were able to massage the text into something workable, but we couldn't just go straight from outsourcing to uploading.
So it's sort of like you've got this artistic license, but you're sort of boxed in by the Amazon criteria. We're feeling better about the fact that now Amazon's giving more canvas, if you like, with enhanced brand content, but it's still very restrictive. So I think it's a tough thing to do for a designer, right? Like, because you think about websites 10 years ago, the concept was to build an amazing .com site. Now you're on Amazon, everything looks the same. It's like you've just got this tiny little window to build a brand site. Just one quick thought. I mean, if you go and look at Tmall, out in China, you can customize the entire brand page within the site. So it would be interesting to see if Amazon goes down that road. I think they will. I think they're going to allow brands to speak more to customers.
I think it's brand registry. I think we haven't touched about that much, but make it maybe just 30 seconds on it, because I think that's the first step.
Yeah. With brand registry, the new one recently opened to sellers to apply for, and this is going to be new and improved for brands because it's really all about the trademark, right? So they really want to protect brands more. I know they're just trying to add that extra layer of security to really help them out there and grow their brand on Amazon, especially if it's their only channel. So being able to, have enhanced brand content for trademarked ASINs that they have to apply for, that's the catch. You do have to apply, but once you're in that program, I see a lot of benefit down the road, even growing.
If I were a brand looking to the future, I would be looking at design talent. Copywriting talent, design talent.
The game's changed, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Because you've got to think of last year. You've got to just
Absolutely.
Yeah. And currently in enhanced brand content, they give you about 4 or 5 templates to choose from, and ultimately, I think the one with the most images and room for bullet points here is going to be the most
around,
useful.
I think some of the keyword restrictions as well. If you can't put it in your copy and Amazon's preventing that, you could use your imagery to show those features and to show that detail.
It makes it so much more scannable as a customer. Yeah.
Absolutely. And going back to your previous slide too, utilizing all of the image slots that are available to you will not only improve the customer experience, but we have data that shows it increases your organic search results as well.
Yeah, maximize the real estate.
Yeah.
A small footprint.
And tracking this, of course, through your KPMs and your business reports, ultimately, if you implement maybe enhanced brand content, you want to see the before and after effect on conversion. So at the end of the day, can you do this for your entire portfolio?
Test every 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Perfect.
And
so that brings us to our next scenario.
So Mike's third product is a newly launched yo-yo, a toy. So for this product, he's seeing low sessions, so low traffic, but the traffic that he is getting, it is converting. So he has high conversion that he's seeing through his business report. So right here off the gate, it really doesn't have enough traffic, right? So he really wants to start sponsor products campaigns because he's going to be able to build up that sales rank. And being able to build up more and more visibility for his products. He's going to be finding search terms, especially through those automatic campaigns, and be able to double down on them and really hone in on ones that are profitable and producing multiple orders there. So maybe in this short term, he wants to focus on impressions and clicks just to get his new product and his new brand out there. But at the end of the day, like we mentioned earlier, it's all about profit. And ultimately focusing on your business. So focusing on impressions and clicks for the short term is not a good strategy, but it's good for a product launch.
Yeah. And the very last bucket that you might fall into is high sessions and high conversion, which sounds like an ideal place to be. You have the traffic and all that traffic is turning into sales. So, you would be tempted to really just kick back and relax and watch the money roll in, but there's still work to be done. And you could argue that this is really where you should be focusing most of your effort because these are the products that are your golden goose and the rest of them are just bets. So these are the ones that are already making money for you. So you can keep investing more time and effort into it to really maximize on that profit.
And you maximizing profit, should you raise your prices?
That's a great question. So I think this is where the price testing comes into play. So you need to look at the competitive marketplace because if you have a high conversion, you're definitely getting part of that market share. But there's always a new competitor on the horizon. So you need to be aware of that. But of course, you should set your price as high as possible, but it's still maintaining your conversion.
Yeah, I think test and learn. I think that we've talked about this before too. I love what Megan, what you're saying, just about the two, like every 2 weeks, you should literally be incrementally, I think, moving. It's floors and ceilings. I think that's what it comes down to, and always tweaking. I think that's where you're most successful because you're going to realize trends on the upside as well as trends on the downside. But I think, Alex, to your point, do you raise prices? You do, but incrementally, right? I don't think you want to go crazy.
I wouldn't say go crazy, but what you should do is optimize using sort of an Uber surge pricing type methodology by basically maximizing your opportunity. And I think really in this scenario, the challenge is what is that high price? Yep. What is the optimal price? And again, that's something that we're working on. I think it's interesting. I think if you look at the smarter sellers, they are adjusting their prices in this type of scenario. I mean, the question is, at what point do you start to flatten that curve out? So I think, again, looking to the future, it's going to get very, very dynamic. I mean, you're already seeing it, but for brands, it's a new territory.
It's the stock market.
Yeah,
exactly what's been built for the stock market. Nico, hey, any final thoughts on kind of that last strategy? Because after this slide, we've just got key takeaways. We've got a few minutes left, but I want to make sure you had your chance to chime in.
No, I would totally agree with that. I mean, our pricing audits have resulted in prices moving down and up. It really just depends on what we see from the other marketplaces. Also, Amazon's bestseller list is a good place to look as well. It's really good to look in your category and see what the people at the top are doing and where your products fall on that top 100 list.
And you're looking for presentation, or are you looking for price, reviews, or when you're
everything under the sun? And we also look to see where our movement comes into play. That's a list that we look at weekly for our products. So if we make a pricing change or if we make a title change and we start seeing upward or downward movement on the bestseller list, then we may see a success or a failure based on those changes.
And Nico, how long do you let your changes run? I know we mentioned a 2-week time frame here, but is there one that you found is most successful?
It really depends on the product. Okay. Some will let run for an entire month. Others, we might be a little shy and we'll pull after a week.
All right, perfect. So just to wrap up, everyone, I know we're pushing our limits here with the time. We really want to push the importance of data, knowing your data, being comfortable with it, and knowing where to find it, and being able to pin down your best and your worst performers and really investing more into your best performers and protecting them, because that's what's going to keep the lights on at the end of the day.
Yeah, and really being able to know your target audience, use the data to find that, know what's most important in terms of those attributes, and what scenario and options that you have as a seller, because you're going to fall into one of those buckets.
Yeah, and I think just to remind everybody, I think it's the rather than the who, it's the how, right? I think that's important. And then I think just one bit, I think we touched on just testing is essential. Patience is key. I love that as well. I think the 2-week rhythm, you got to be in the numbers all the time, right? And be rigorous. I mean, Al talked about it too. We talk about it every time we have a chance to have a conversation. Be cold-blooded. If it doesn't meet the KPMs that you put together, cut it, right? Or do something with the product. So gosh, I mean, this was a quick, I guess it was an hour, right? Yeah. It was very, very, very quick. A couple of quick things, right? So firstly, Nico, thank you so much for the contribution and the partnership. It really was just a pleasure just listening, learning from you. Gosh, we'd love to have you do it again. I mean, I think the audience probably would agree. It was just a heck of a lot of good stuff that you shared.
So much. Thank you.
Likewise, I appreciate the opportunity.
And as always, we try and do this regularly, so we have a pretty good audience every time we open the microphone up, if you will. So we've got a couple of very, very powerful webinars coming up on July 12th, always at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Proven PPC Strategies for Amazon. That's been one of our most popular sessions, just because everybody's getting the sponsored products game. So that's something to definitely join us as well. And we've also got another very popular topic on August 2nd. About how to boost your FBA profits. That's again, just very meaty topics. And so please do join us again. And then lastly, as always, we do have free demonstration of the Teikametrics Sponsored Products Optimizer that's we demoed at Edge when we had our conference in New York. And we're here to answer your questions. So please reach out to any of us here on the webinar. We'll get back to you. And really, for any questions you have around Amazon, selling on Amazon, and of course, we'll be sending out the recording in the next day or so.
And just quickly, since we're on the events page here, it is Gary's birthday, so happy birthday, Gary!
Happy birthday, Gary! Well done.
Well done. Thank you so much, everybody, for listening.
Everybody, thanks again for spending an hour with us. We hope it was valuable, and we'll speak with you very soon. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.